G'day ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Australia's Tabletop Wargaming Network for another installment in our Warhammer 40,000 for the New Guy series. G'day ladies and gentlemen, Scotty D here from the Australia's Tabletop Wargaming Network, and welcome back for the next installment now for the New Guy series for the Tyranid Codex, where we are looking at some of the Tyranid detachments you can play in Warhammer 40,000 10th edition and going through them, as well as giving you a starter army that you can start playing that detachment with. Now, before we jump into the meat and potatoes of today's video, I want to thank everyone who's been supporting us over here on YouTube, whether you've been liking, commenting on our videos, or you've been subscribing to the channel, sharing it with your friends, and all of that fun stuff as well. It's all greatly appreciated, and it just helps us reach more members of the Warhammer 40k community that enjoy watching content over here on YouTube. So without further ado, let's jump into talking about the Tyranid detachment we're looking at in today's video, which is the Crusher Stampede detachment. Now, this one is primarily focused on big bugs. It's designed to support your larger monsters in a Tyranid army and really encourages you to take them in your list when you are playing this detachment, because this detachment is built around supporting and giving you buffs to help your monstrous creatures move through terrain or do impact mortals when they go to hit, to really be a lot more deadly in close combat and shooting when they become more damaged, as well as having better objective control. There's a lot of tools in this detachment for big monsters, and it's going to be great to go through it. Now, in terms of the popularity of this detachment, we do have lower interest in this detachment in general. It's not one of the more played, or doesn't perform particularly well in a competitive sense, but it is fun to play by just putting big bugs on the table and just trying to see how your opponent can deal with them, because obviously in Tyranids you can actually put a decent amount of large monsters onto the battlefield, which we're going to have a look at in the list a little bit later on. But let's jump into talking about the detachment rule for Crusher Stampede, which is enraged behemoths. So each time a Tyranid monster model from your army makes an attack, you get +1 to hit if it's below starting strength, which basically means it's lost 1 wound or more straight away. And you also get +1 to wound if it is below half strength, which means it's got less than half of its wounds remaining. In addition, while Tyranid monster units are not battle shocked from your army and is at starting strength, you get +2 OC to that model. So you get +2 objective control, which means whilst the Tyranid monsters aren't damaged, they're better at holding objectives. As they become more damaged, you are able to do more damage back to your opponent. So that's the way that detachment rule works. It's actually quite interesting. A lot of Tyranid monstrous creatures have got a lot of wounds with high toughness, and they've got decent saves, whether it's a 2+ or a 3+. Some of them have invulnerable saves, some of them don't. So it's good to bear in mind that having the additional objective control initially is really solid, because typically in a Crusher Stampede list you've actually got less models than you would in some of the previous detachments that we've looked at. So it's good that you've got that extra staying power with your bigger Tyranid bugs, meaning that you're able to go up against smaller objective control units like Lich Guard or Scouts, and really able to go, actually, no, you don't control that point, we're contesting it right now because I'm 5 OC and so are you. And so you can really flip that quite well and utilize that to your benefit, whilst also having them not damaged, but obviously they're going to get damaged throughout the game. And so then you've got the offensive buffs of +1 to hit as soon as they've lost a wound or more, and then once they're below half of their wounds, they also get +1 to wound as well, which is really good for helping these guys out to being able to do damage against them. And it's important to note the +1 to hit will negate their bracketing when they hit their -1 to hit as well, so they'll just be on their normal to hit roll, which is really good to note as well when playing a lot of monsters that may bracket. Now, when we look at the detachment's enhancements, we've got 4 to choose from here. We've got Omniscious Presence, which is a Tyranid monster only. You just get +3 objective control wholesale onto that Tyranid monster, which does stack with the detachment bonus. So it means you can get a total of +5 OC onto a monster character, which is really cool. And then you've got Enraged Reserves. Tyranid monster only again. If the bearer is destroyed by a melee attack on a d6, roll a dice. If you get a 3+, you don't remove the model. it gets to fight on death. So it gets to fight the attacking model's unit after it finishes making its attacks. And then you then remove the model afterwards as well, which is really good for a close combat focused Tyranid character such as the Hive Tyrant. It's going to be really good on one of those to be able to just throw him down the guts, try and kill him, and then you get to swing on death with him as well. Next up, we've got Null Nodules. It's a Tyranid monster only. Once per battle, when a psychic attack is allocated to the bearer, you can use this enhancement for a 5-up Feel No Pain against psychic attacks until the end of the phase. So this one's a little bit more niche. It needs to be against a psychic attack whilst also being once per battle. So you can't really pop it multiple times. So this one's a little less beneficial, I would say, out of the 4. So this one probably gets left on the table a little bit more, like you're not taking it, compared to some of the other ones, because the last one is Monstrous Nemesis, which I actually think is the best one out of them all. Tyranid monster only, melee attacks that the bearer makes against other monsters and vehicles are +1 to wound. Really good at enabling you to go toe-to-toe with other monsters and vehicles in close combat, which is what you'd hope Tyranids are able to do, which is really strong. I'm really happy with that enhancement. So in terms of their enhancement suite, they've got 2 that are pretty good in Omniscience Presence and Enraged Reserves, and then Monstrous Nemesis is just an auto take in my opinion, and then Null Nodules, it's situational at best, so you may want to take it if you're regularly playing into a psychic heavy meta where you've got a lot of Grey Knights and Thousand Suns, but you may also not at the same time. So it really depends on what the area you're playing in with this detachment, whether that one's going to be of some benefit to you or not. Then we're going to get into the stratagems. So the first stratagem we've got is Corrosive Viscera for 1 CP. So during your opponent's shooting phase or the fight phase, just after a Tyranid model with the Deadly Demise ability that cannot fly is destroyed. A lot of factors there. Don't roll to see if it is going to inflict mortal wounds from your model's Deadly Demise ability. The mortal wounds are just automatically inflicted. So it's an explosion strat where, you lose a Tyranid monster that's not a flyer, it dies. Instead of rolling for its Deadly Demise, it just automatically happens, causing mortal wounds to everyone around it. Quite an interesting strat. It can be good when you have a lot of units around that Tyranid monster that you are like, I just need to do chip damage here, and then, it's pulled all of my opponent's units out to deal with this one unit, and so then my other Tyranid monsters can now just deal with all of those units that just expose themselves from range and do a ton of shooting that way. So it can be quite good in that sense. But auto explodes, 1 CP, it's pretty solid. You could reduce it to 0 with a Hive Tyrant, but again, I think that there are better options in the Stratagem suite to use that ability with. Next up, we've got Rampaging Monstrosities for 1 CP. During the fight phase, you select a Tyranid monster unit that hasn't been selected to fight. Until the end of the phase, it re-rolls to hit rolls, which is huge. It is huge to have rerolls to hit on a Hive Tyrant in close combat. It is huge to be able to give rerolls to hit to a Maleceptor or a Morlock or a Trigon. Something that is going to do a lot of attacks that can really do a decent amount of damage into the right target. Getting rerolls to hit, really good for 1 CP. Make it free with a Hive Tyrant. That is a really, really good strat that you have, and it is keyed to the fight phase, so you can use it in both your turn and your opponent's turn as well, which is really important to note here. Next up, we've got Savage Roar for 1 CP. So during the fight phase, just after an enemy unit selects one of your Tyranid monster units as the target for its attacks, that enemy unit must make a battle shock test, and until the end of the phase, that enemy unit has -1 to hit when attacking the selected Tyranid monster. If it fails the battle shock check, they are also at -1 to wound. This again is a really good strat, a really decent defensive strat to go. Basically, you're at -1 to hit me whether you fail the battle shock check or not. If you fail it, you're -1 to wound me as well, which can actually be really important if they bring in guns like las cannons to bear. That going off is actually really important. So it's really strong in that sense as well. So bear that in mind with that one. That's quite a good defensive strat in my personal opinion. Next up, we've got Untrammeled Ferocity for 1 CP. During your movement phase, select one Tyranid monster that hasn't moved this phase. Until the end of the phase, it can move through models, excluding Titanic models, and terrain features that are 4 inches or less in height when making a normal, advance, or fallback move. However, when doing so, it can move within engagement range of enemy units, but cannot end that move within engagement range of them. And it can also move through terrain features that are higher than 4 inches, but after completing the move, roll a d6, and on a 1, that unit is then battle shocked. So basically, this is a move through terrain strat. For 1 CP, being able to go, cool, I'm just going to throw a Tyranid monster through a terrain feature just to get him into a better position, a better staging spot, so I don't have to maneuver around some terrain, which is really good. I think that is a great stratagem to have in this detachment, because you are typically having larger bases on your Tyranid monsters, and depending on the terrain set you're playing, if it's not necessarily GW, if you're playing on WTC, can be a lot denser boards, then this strat is going to become quite handy for you to be able to utilize moving through those terrain features when otherwise you might encounter some bottlenecks. And then for the second to last stratagem, we have got Swarm Guided Salvos. For 1 CP, during your shooting phase, you select one Tyranid monster that has not shot this phase. Till the end of the phase, ranged weapons equipped by models in the selected unit get the Ignores Cover ability, and that model can ignore any and all modifiers to their ballistic skill or hit rolls. So that one's really nice, particularly if you're trying to get something out of cover, or you're able to kill something in cover with your Tyranid monsters with shooting. You're able to really make sure that your AP is able to penetrate their armor and remove the armor bonus from their cover as well, which is really great. And then last but not least, we've got Massive Impact for 1 CP. During your charge phase, just after a Tyranid monster unit finished a charge move, select one enemy unit that is within engagement range of it, and then you roll 6d6 for every 4+, that enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound. So it's basically a like jump pack intercessors have this ability where when you finish a charge move for each model that makes engagement range, you roll a d6, and on a 4-up it does a mortal. This is the exact same thing, but it's basically a grenade version of it. So you can do, you could spike and do 5 mortals, or you could low roll it and only do 1 or 2. But on average, you're going to do 3 mortals with this strat. So really, it's one to weigh up whether 3 mortal wounds is going to be as impactful as what 1 CP is elsewhere, particularly if you're wanting to do, say, rerolls to hit in close combat as well. Which one's going to be better for you with the unit that you're running? Now, we've looked at the stratagems, we're about to look at the army list, but before we jump into that 1,000-point army list for this detachment, we're going to have a quick word for our channel sponsor, Tip Top Terrain. Now, Tip Top Terrain, our channel sponsor, is an Australian-based company that has designed affordable laser-cut MDF terrain that doesn't compromise on quality, whilst they've also got neoprene gaming mats, terrain bases, gaming tokens, and much more from that laser-cut MDF as well to help you getting started with playing Warhammer 40,000. Because whether you're starting to collect your first army for Warhammer 40,000 or you are adding another army to your collection for 40k, there is no reason that the terrain and the gaming mats that you play on need to be that expensive as well. Tip Top Terrain's MDF terrain is available in both the Games Workshop and WTC terrain styles that you're able to choose from. So you're able to start off playing your games with good terrain that's going to cover the majority of the board. So you're able to have some great fun gaming experiences as you start to learn how to play your new army, as you're learning how to play 40k, or maybe as you're learning a new force you've added to your collection. These sets are easy to assemble and store, whether you want to have them stored fully assembled or if you want to leave them unglued so you can disassemble them and store them in a tighter, more compact space, depending on your storage needs. With the neoprene gaming mats they also sell, they've actually got each of the deployment zones that you are using in your games from the matched play mission decks currently. So they are going to help you save time when you are looking to start playing your games, because you don't have to worry about marking out your deployment zones and such as well. So if you are in Australia and you want to support an Australian business that actively supports the wider Warhammer 40k community here in Australia, particularly a lot of the tournament scene, then make sure to check them out through the links down in the description below for their terrain, their gaming mats, and all the other products that they have available. Make sure to let them know the ATWN sent you, and thank you so much to Tip Top Terrain for sponsoring today's video. Alrighty, so when you are looking to start off a Crusher Stampede army list, we've got a nice and quick 1,000-point army list here for you guys that will give you a really solid foundation of how to play Crusher Stampede to get the most out of it. I do have the army list up on another monitor, so I'm able to go through the unit rules and stuff for you guys, because there's a couple of units on here that we have not talked about before in this series. If we have spoken about them before, we may not cover them too much in depth compared to what we have previously. So starting off, we've got a Hive Tyrant. This guy is really solid in your list. Typically, he can be close combat orientated, shooting orientated, or both. So what we've actually given him, we have given him the Monstrous Nemesis enhancement, which for this one, it is +1 to wound against monsters and vehicles, which is really solid in melee. He does have a 4-up invo, 2-up armor save, 10 wounds at T7, which is really good. He does have an ability where it can give friendly Tyranid units within 6 lethal hits on ranged weapons and assault, which can be quite good when you pair it with some of the other stuff in this list. And then you can reduce a stratagem by 1 CP for any friendly Tyranid unit within 12 inches of this guy, which is really great. He's also Synapse, so he does enable your other Tyranid units to take Battle Shock on 3d6 and other things like that as well. Really, really solid. He is Deadly Demise D3, so if he does end up dying and you want auto-explode him, he can do up to 3 wounds, which is really nice. But yeah, he's not your Warlord, however. The Warlord is going to be the Neuro Tyrant. And we've given this guy Omniscious Presence is the enhancement we've given him, which is +3 OC, which is really good because he's base OC 3. So he's going to go up to OC 6, which is really quite good. And it means that if you keep him back for your home field, your opponent actually has to really dedicate some stuff to deal with the Neuro Tyrant. He's a 4-up armor save with a 4-up invulnerable save. He's your Warlord. He is able to, whilst he's leading unit, when they make an attack, they get +1 to hit, and if the target's battle shocked, just +1 to wound as well. When you do Shadows of the Warp for your army, which is causing all your opponent's units to take a battle shock check, each enemy unit on the battlefield takes it at -1, which is really solid. And he also, in the command phase, can select 2 units within 18 of him to have Synapse on them, whether they move out of that 18 inches or not, for the entirety of that current turn until your next command phase, so even your opponent's turn as well. Really great unit to take in this list. He is a Synapse creature as well. He does have his Psychic Flamer that is quite solid as well at 18-inch range. He can do some fun stuff with that in Overwatch too, so he's quite a good point defense character to be able to defend in this list, whilst also having a few other units around him. We've then got no battle line units in this detachment. I really didn't feel like battle line was appropriate here. But, of course, we've got the Biovore. It is a staple in the Tyranids detachments. I think that it is just a staple in all Tyranid lists. So definitely encourage you to ensure that you do have a Biovore in your army list when you are building Tyranid lists. Then we come to 2 Exocrines. Now, the Exocrines are the primary heavy shooting platform of the Tyranids in general and of this list. So these guys put out D6 +3 of Strength 9 -3, 3 damage shots that are blast and heavy. He already hits on 3s, so as long as he loses 1 wound, he's then going to be hitting on 2s. If he stands still, he does hit on 2s still as well. He is T10 with a 3-up save, 14 wounds. Now, he does grant reroll hit rolls of 1 for shooting after he shot a target. He does get impacted by Synapse whilst being within a Synapse aura as well, so you can really help him out there. Particularly reroll the hit strat is really good on these guys. And you've got 2 of them, which means that if you're able to put them near the Hive Tyrant, and you can go free spend on one for rerolls to hit, and free spend on another, maybe for ignores cover, for example, can be really, really solid. Obviously, one of those would have to be free. You can't double up on the free there. So they can be really good fire platforms. They've got a lot of wounds. They're OC4 base, so before they've even been wounded, they go up to OC6 in this detachment, which is really solid. The Neuro Tyrant, notably, goes up to OC8 because of the Detachment Rule as well. Really, really good. So, Exocrines are really good in this detachment, in my opinion. We've then got a Lictor, which is your standard lone op. It's an infiltration guy. He's, he's stealth as well. He can do a lot of damage in close combat. When units get into contact with him and do combat, he's also -1 to hit, even if you are shooting at him within 12 inches of range, which is really good. I like the Lictor. He's kind of a staple in a lot of Tyranid lists as well, so that's why we've got him here also. Then we've got 11 Neurogaunts. Now, this is the first time we're seeing Neurogaunts. Basically, these guys are kind of like bodyguards for the Neuro Tyrant. There's 11 of them in a unit, and whilst this unit is within Synapse range, it also has the Synapse ability, which means it can actually spread out your Synapse aura across a lot of the tables. So as long as you are able to safely protect that unit, you can actually impact a lot of units with the Synapse range from the Neurogaunts, whilst it is attached to the Neuro Tyrant, giving it Synapse as well. Or if you don't actually attach it to the Neuro Tyrant, what you're able to do is then have the Neuro Tyrant give the Neurogaunts Synapse, and then they emit Synapse themselves, giving it to a lot of other stuff around them as well, which can be really good for a force multiplier. Then what else we've got in this? We've got the Neuro Lictor in there as well. This guy, again, much like the Lictor, but the Synapse version, it does emit Synapse. But it's lone op, it's stealth. It doesn't do as well in close combat, but it is quite tough and durable to deal with and hard for the opponent to interact with. So we've got 2 of those types of units in the list, which is really solid. And then last but not least, we've got the Screamer Killer Carnifex. This guy can do a lot of damage with both shooting and close combat. Shooting, not as much. Close combat, definitely. So he's only toughness 9 with 10 wounds with a 2-up save. 3 OC, not too bad. He does have a plasma screen, D6 plus 3 shots, 18-inch range. He's only hitting on 4s though, so once he takes a wound, he does go up to hitting on 3s. However, it is assault, so you can advance and shoot that. It's only 1 damage though at -2, so bear that in mind as well. But in close combat, he does 10 attacks hitting on 3s at strength 10 and -2, 3 damage. This guy will tear apart a lot of things by being that strength 10. The minute that he gets +1 to hit, and forbid that he gets the +1 to wound before he is killed, he is going to do a lot of damage, and he can punch up into things like big Imperial Knights quite well because of how many attacks he outputs at strength 10. Sure, it's only -2, but it's really solid with flat 3 damage, meaning, okay, cool, it's only -2 against Terminators, but every single invulnerable save you fail, you're picking up a Terminator, basically, because Terminators only have 3 wounds. This guy outputs 3 damage, which is really, really solid. Then during your shooting phase, you are going to be shooting the plasma, because after this model has shot, you select one unit that was hit by 1 or more of those attacks. They have to take a battle shock at -1. So there's still some battle shock stuff going on here with this guy. He does benefit from Synapse as well, but he doesn't emit it himself. And he's deadly demise once, so he only does 1 mortal wound when he dies, so bear that in mind. But it is still a really good unit to have in this style of detachment. You can really give him a lot of buffs when you are playing him. So in this list, you have got 5 monsters. You've got the Neuro Tyrant, the Hive Tyrant, 2 Exocrines, and a Screamer Killer, which is a lot. You've got a couple of game pieces like your Lictors and your Biovores to really do secondaries and be in positions to hold objectives. And then your Neurogaunts can kind of help string out Synapse to really allow your bigger monstrous creatures to still be within Synapse range when you're playing your games. So last but not least, we're going to look at what it's going to cost you to put together this list. Now, of course, as per usual, when we're looking at pricing, it's all in Australian dollars. Now, when we are looking at the pricing on screen, the ones that aren't in brackets are from Games Workshop. The ones in the brackets are from independent retailers that you could find online, or, could be secondhand stores and all that. So there's some factors there with those prices. So bear that in mind. First up, we've got the Hive Tyrant. Comes in $101 from Games Workshop, or you can find it for $80 online through a discount retail. Next up, we've got the Neuro Tyrant and Screamer Killer Carnifex. They come in a combo kit for $185 from Games Workshop, or if you buy it direct, some online retailers only do 5% off direct product to bring it down to $176. Other stores may just do flat 10% off, so it would bring it down a little bit further. Bear that in mind. You buy over $86 or $68 if you buy it through an independent retail. You got your 2 exocrines, again, they're $115 each or $110 through an independent retailer. For a Lictor, it's $86 from Games Workshop, or if you're buying independently, $68. 11 Neurogaunts is $74 or $59 through an independent retailer. So quite a cheap pickup. If you're wanting to grab it, it's a relatively cheap unit in your list. It's only about 45 points. So bear that in mind when you're purchasing it. Then you've got the Neurolictor for $74, or if you buy it through an independent retailer, it's $59. So really, when we look at this list and the cost of it in total from Games Workshop, it's a lot cheaper than the Vanguard Onslaught list that we looked at in the last video, which is $836, or you could get it as cheap as $730, maybe even a little bit cheaper. You could grab stuff through other retailers and maybe do a bigger discount on the direct stuff, or find stuff on Facebook Marketplace, secondhand stores, all that kind of stuff as well. But on the whole, my thoughts on Crusher Stampede is that it's actually a really solid detachment if you love playing big bugs. It does give you a lot of benefits for running those bigger monstrous creatures, whether that's benefits to your hit rolls, improving the amount of damage you're able to do by ignoring cover, helping you do more damage through auto explosions, and just allowing you to hold objectives a lot more effectively. And when you can't do that, you're able to do a lot more damage to your opponent. I think that this one probably is tied, in my personal opinion, it's kind of tied with Synaptic Nexus. It's got some good play. It does well at times, but really it can be quite niche. So bear that in mind, particularly in the current state of the game where Imperial Knights are, doing quite well, and a lot of players are tooling to deal with Knights in some regards. They're also going to be able to deal with bigger Tyranid monstrous creatures at the same time. So that's why this detachment mightn't be performing as well currently in the current meta at the time of the video's publishing, but in the future it may come back around and may do quite well when maybe infantry is a lot more heavier, or maybe mixed arms. So this SKU may be a bit more popular and might do a bit better. So it just really depends on what is going on. But yeah, that kind of wraps it up for my thoughts on the Crusher Stampede detachment, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank everyone for watching today's video. I hope that you have enjoyed my look at and the insights that I have shared with you about the Crusher Stampede detachment. Now, if you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit the subscribe button, turn on that notification bell so you're notified as to when we are releasing more content here on the network, whether it is more videos in the For the New Guys series, or maybe it's tournament coverage that we have got coming up throughout the rest of the year, or maybe it's any of the other myriad of content that we create over here on the network as well. Or if you have any feedback on my analysis of Crusher Stampede and thoughts, feel free to leave a comment as well. I'm always happy to chat with you guys in the comment section about your thoughts on any of the videos that we create here on the ATWN. Also, if you do want to have a live discussion with me, then make sure to head over to Twitch. Follow us at the Astralis TWN channel, where most weeks, I do hobbying sessions. When I'm not doing hobbying session, I'm more than likely doing a tournament preview ahead of tournament coverage that weekend, where, we sit down for the hobbying sessions. I smash out a bunch of hobbying progress on my own armies, and we talk about all the new stuff that's coming out, as well as answering any questions you guys might have in a chat, list analysis or thoughts on the meta, rules questions, the whole shebang. I always love chat with you guys. And then the tournament preview is always great to chat with TOs and get their thoughts about how they're running their event and really pick their brains about why they've picked the things that they have as well. Also, want to give a massive shout out to Tip Top Terrain. Make sure to check them out. We got their links down in the description below. They are a wonderful company that support not just us here at the ATWN, but also a lot of the tournament organizers in New South Wales with terrain, and the community at large with prize supported events and such as well. So make sure to check them out. If you do grab anything from Dan and the team over there, make sure to let them know that the ATWN sent you as well. And a massive shout out to all of our financial supporters, whether you are a subscriber over on Twitch, a member here on YouTube, or if you are a Ko-Fi member as well. Your financial contributions allow us to continue to invest and upgrade our tournament coverage gear, meaning that we are able to provide the best tournament coverage quality that we can of the Australian Warhammer 40k tournament scene. But, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Scotty D. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Hope to catch you in the next one.